What the fuck are we talking
You are
about?
transphobic.
Okay, so that's one of the questions in these interviews that made me go, okay, there's some going on here. There's a slight little subtle clue here.
Joe Rogan exposes footage that Jake Paul vs. Gervonta Davis is scripted. Joe Rogan just detonated a bomb on the boxing world, and it's aimed straight at Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. The footage he exposed doesn't look like training, it looks like rehearsal, and that single difference has fans screaming "scripted" across the internet. If what Rogan revealed is real, this could be the moment boxing finally loses its soul.
Back into the ring. And I think if you were to pause there and ask most people, what do you think he's going to answer? What do you think a fighter would answer to this? We would probably expect things like, I want to prove that I still got it.
The clip hit the internet like a bomb. A short blurry video showing Jake Paul and Gervonta Tank Davis behind closed doors. Not fighting, but moving in rhythm, like they were practicing. Not sparring, rehearsing. Within hours, social media went nuclear. It didn't take long before Joe Rogan got his hands on it, and that's when things got serious. On his podcast, Rogan froze the frame, squinted, and said the line that set the internet on fire. "If this is real, it's the fakest fight setup I've ever seen." His tone dropped. He looked genuinely disgusted. "If they faked it," he said, "boxing's done."
Size beats speed. Size don't mean nothing if you can't hit it.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
People didn't just react, they investigated. The footage showed Tank throwing soft punches, Jake ducking a split second too early, and both men stepping back at the same time, almost on cue. Every frame looked a little too perfect.
Fight was produced by Jake Paul's company, MVP, Most Valuable Promotions. And he worked with Netflix to produce this event. And I think that...
And here's where it got even crazier. The fight itself had already been under fire long before this leak. The Georgia State Athletic Commission had flat out refused to sanction it. One of their officials, Rick Thompson, called it the dumbest thing we've ever heard. Why? Because Jake Paul walks around at nearly 200 pounds and Gervonta Davis fights at 135. That's a 65-pound gap, a size difference you'd never see in professional boxing. It's not just dangerous, it's unheard of.
Jake fought a guy who was his age and who was also considered a boxer, and he lost.
Then came the real kicker. Thompson revealed that Jake's team had been promoting the fight like it was official, when it was never approved by any legitimate commission. Basically, they were selling a fake fight as the real thing. The public didn't take that lightly. After the backlash, the entire event was quietly relocated to Miami, under a vague exhibition label. No judges, no official result, just cameras, contracts, and now, leaked footage. For Rogan, that was the smoking gun. He went back on his podcast, rolled the clip again, and broke it down frame by frame. He wasn't done. Rogan pointed out how Netflix had stepped in after Showtime dropped the fight, calling it a reality boxing event. He said this wasn't about sport anymore. It was a social experiment for clicks. That hit hard, because Netflix had already been experimenting with live events and hybrid reality shows. Now, Rogan was suggesting they'd taken it one step further, turning boxing into entertainment television.
I believe that he was making the money he says he's making. Showtime Boxing wouldn't have gone out of business, and Showtime would have made sure they kept paying him.
Right.
But he's doing it. What do I think of the Mike Tyson fight?
Yes.
Tyson's 58 years old. You know what I mean?
Soon after, Daniel Cormier joined in. He didn't hold back either. "This isn't a fight, it's a circus," he said. "You've got a YouTuber twice the size of a world champion and they're calling it boxing? Please." He accused the promoters of using exhibition loopholes to dodge real scrutiny, saying, "They can script whatever they want when no one's watching."
Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people, because everybody's going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out.
Right.
They're not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's...
Meanwhile, fans started digging deeper. Why did the Georgia Commission pull out? Why were the gloves heavier than usual? Why were the rounds extended to 10 when it's just an exhibition? Every detail made the fight look less like competition and more like a production. Rogan's audience could feel his frustration. "You can't play with combat," he said. "You can't fake danger. Either you're fighting or you're acting. And that's when his tone shifted from criticism to concern. He warned that if Netflix and influencers kept blurring the line between real and scripted, boxing's integrity would collapse.
He's got the power, he's got the size.
But take out them hands.
The leaked clip became Exhibit A. Rogan slowed it down, and at one point you could hear someone in the background yell "reset" before the two stepped back and did the same sequence again. That's when he lost it. "They're rehearsing the fight," he said, slapping the table. "This is what happens when money replaces pride." And the money behind it was ridiculous. Reports said Jake's team wanted creative control over the production. Not fight strategy, creative control. Netflix allegedly agreed, giving him say over everything from the promo footage to post-fight editing. Gervonta, on the other hand, was promised a $10 million check just to show up, with bonuses if the event hit certain viewership numbers. Oh, this is where things get real weird, because just when everyone thought the leaked footage was the big scandal, the real drama was happening behind closed doors, inside Netflix's shiny conference rooms. So here's what allegedly went down. After Showtime said no thanks and backed out of the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis circus, Netflix swooped in like, "We'll take it, but make it spicy." They didn't want a boxing match. They wanted a storyline. Their internal pitch reportedly called it unscripted drama, which if you've ever seen reality TV, you know that's code for definitely scripted, but let's all pretend it's not.
What is Jake gonna do to Tank?
Jake's got the power, he's got the size.
But take out them hands.
Then came the leaks. Some emails between Jake's team and Netflix producers hit the internet, and the phrasing was mind-blowing. Words like controlled narrative arcs and planned emotional beats. That's not a fight plan, that's a Netflix original. You could practically hear the dramatic background music. Joe Rogan caught wind of it and went ballistic. On his podcast, he said Netflix wasn't testing boxing. They were testing sports entertainment 2.0. Translation: the future where every punch comes with a script and a camera angle. He said it straight. This isn't boxing anymore. This is a social experiment for people who miss reality TV.
I believe that he was making the money he says he's making. Showtime Boxing wouldn't have gone out of business, and Showtime would have made sure they kept paying.
And then Dana White jumped in too. He called it boxing's reality TV moment, and not in a good way. He said, "The sport's being sold scene by scene like it's an episode of Keeping Up with the Pauls." You could hear the exhaustion in his voice. He's seen crazy stuff in combat sports, but this? This was new. But things really exploded once people started talking to Calvin Ford, Tank's longtime coach. Ford's the kind of guy who lives and breathes old-school boxing. Sweat, blood, no gimmicks. So when reporters asked him about the fight rules, his answer said it all. "They told us 12-ounce gloves, exhibition rules, no knockouts. I said, what are we doing here?" That line spread faster than a Jake Paul promo clip. Ford wasn't hiding his frustration anymore. He said Tank had been sparring with men way heavier just to deal with Jake's size. But at the same time, the producers were saying, "Don't go for the kill." It was like telling a shark to swim softly, and apparently Tank snapped. During one of the sessions, he just walked out mid-spar and shouted, "They want me to act, not fight." That one sentence broke the internet because suddenly it wasn't just conspiracy theorists saying the fight was fake, it was the fighter himself. Rogan even played leaked audio of Ford ranting, and man, it was pure frustration. "This ain't boxing, this is Netflix's script with gloves on." He wasn't joking. You could hear it in his voice, a mix of anger and disbelief. Then came the so-called safety rules. And that's when the sport's credibility officially left the chat. The official fight guidelines read like a parody: 195-pound limit, 10 3-minute rounds, 12-ounce gloves, no judges, no official result.
He's a great fighter, and they want to see him compete.
I know you know this guy. I think it reminds me a lot of Butterbean.
Rogan tore into it. That's not a fight. That's a playground match dressed up as pay-per-view. And he wasn't wrong. Experts said that if it's not sanctioned, the punches technically don't count. But the paychecks? Oh, those count just fine. And that brings us to the part everyone's been whispering about: the money trail. Because when there's smoke, there's usually a big pile of cash underneath it.
A million there.
Jake's gonna brush him off like he nothing.
So who you got?
Who you got?
Who you got?
Sources close to the deal said Jake Paul's team demanded creative control, not just over the fight, but over how it's presented. Think about that. A boxer asking for director's rights. He didn't want just a purse. He wanted Netflix points, the kind of back-end bonuses producers get from viewership spikes. Tank's camp didn't like it at first. But then came the number, $10 million up front, plus incentives for keeping the fight entertaining. Don't make it boring, make it viral. Suddenly, those ethics started looking negotiable.
Fight was produced by Jake Paul's company, MVP, Most Valuable Promotions, and he worked with Netflix to produce this event. And I think that...
And Rogan, being Rogan, connected all the dots. They turned boxing into influencer cinema. He wasn't being dramatic. He was being accurate. Because between the sponsorships, the streaming bonuses, and the millions of clips flying around TikTok, a scripted fight might actually make more money than a real one. That's the terrifying part. We're not just watching a fight anymore, we're watching boxing become a movie. Real fighters, fake drama, and a production company calling the shots. And if that's the direction things are headed, Joe Rogan might be right about one thing. Boxing's not dying. It's being rewritten. The fallout was instant and brutal. Hardcore boxing fans lit up social media, calling the event the death of the sport. Meanwhile, Gervonta Davis, usually loud and confident, went completely silent. He deleted posts, skipped media day, and vanished from social media. Rumors started swirling that Tank was regretting the deal, maybe even feeling trapped in the circus Netflix had built. And then Joe Rogan dropped the hammer. When the truth comes out, both men will say they were just performing. His words hit harder than any punch.